Fantastic Four: First Steps is the highly anticipated introduction of Marvel's first family into the MCU. If you haven't already, be sure to check out my bucket list double feature covering the two Tim Story Fantastic Four films, as well as my bottom of the bucket video on the god-awful Josh Trank disaster Fan4Stick. With an on-screen track record so shoddy and a bar so low, there wasn't really anywhere for this movie to go but up. The trailers gave off good vibes of the tone, the style, and the world, and a bit of the characters, but at the same time, not only has the MCU been in kind of a rinse and repeat cycle of good project, bad project, but this movie is coming out 2 weeks after Superman, which by all accounts is one of the best movies of the year. Kind of a tough act to follow, no matter how good you are. Regardless, I went in, I watched it, and I liked it. I had some issues with it, but overall, I thought it was a fun movie. I'll start off with the negatives right off the bat because this is something that's kind of apparent throughout the whole movie. You can tell this was a movie that went through a lot of reshoots and re-editing. It isn't anywhere near as egregious as Brave New World, but it is noticeable. I was kind of surprised to see that the runtime for this was only an hour 55, and watching the movie, you can tell that things are being rushed and some elements were condensed. Like, we knew they were gonna skim through the origin story, which they do a good job at, but then a lot of things in the movie are done through montages. There are a few nuggets of potential side stories that are just kind of introduced and not really expanded upon. Because we skip through the origin, we don't really get to see much of the interpersonal drama of the characters coming to terms with their powers, which of course is the only thing the Tim Story one's focused on. Everything seems to be a bit too perfect. Everyone seems too accepting of the Fantastic Four, to the point to where when something does happen that causes the world to turn on them, not only does it feel kind of rushed, but the resolution also goes pretty fast, so it doesn't hold as much weight. I feel like this movie would have benefited from being a bit longer. It would have given more time to flesh out the characters and the story and the world. It would have given time for more personal interactions. It would have allowed the stakes to build and grow, and the movie just generally would have felt less rushed. The rest of the movie I think is mostly solid. I really liked the retro futuristic 60s aesthetic of the world. The movie is directed by the lead director of WandaVision, so he has experience recapturing that time period, but adding on the fancy technological flair to it looked really cool. I thought the cast did really well. Pedro Pascal is probably the weakest link. Not to say that he's bad. He has a good connection with Sue Storm. He's very analytical, but when he reaches a problem that he can't instantly solve, you can see the genuine fear in his face. But sometimes he came across as just kind of wooden or underselling. Vanessa Kirby was really great as Sue Storm. She is basically the emotional center. I do kind of wish she had more individual moments with the other members, but she worked really well. Eban Mas-Bakrach gives a good performance as Ben Grimm, but I honestly thought he was done better in the 2005 movie. He has more of an emotional arc in that one, whereas here he just kind of acts as the muscle and support for the other characters. Johnny is probably the best. Joseph Quinn is funny but never annoying. He's not as much of a showy asshole like Chris Evans was, but he does have his irrational moments. I like kind of the moments where Johnny was trying to contribute and share a lead on the situation and the others just kind of shrug him off. I thought that was an interesting angle, and I kind of wish they explored it a bit more. I know Julia Garner garnered a lot of backlash when she was cast as Silver Surfer, and while she's in the movie about as much as Doug Jones was in Rise of the Silver Surfer, she does well with the limited screen time she has. You feel a bit more of her empathetic side, you get a brief glimpse at her backstory. The effect on her is hit or miss, but there are quite a few action-y chase scenes where she looks really cool. The effects overall are mostly solid. The Thing looks really good, even though his head is kind of small, and the beard took some getting used to. It didn't really feature a lot of Reed using his powers, but when it was there, it looked good. Probably the best part is Galactus, played by Ralph Ineson. After portraying him as a space fart in Rise of the Silver Surfer, seeing them actually do him properly with the outfit and the helmet, walking around smashing shit, was really cool to see. It fits within the 60s B-movie feel of the whole thing, and the effects on it look great. It almost makes me wish this movie was made in the 60s so we could have an actual guy in a costume smashing up miniature cities. The movie has plenty of lighthearted moments, but actually lets some of the heavier moments hit, and the heavy moments actually feel earned, not like Fan4Stick where a character dies and you don't feel anything. And the most important thing the movie got right is their family dynamic. Do I think it could have been done better if the movie was longer? Of course. But even with what we have, they still made these four feel like a family, and their connection and chemistry chemistry is really solid. Overall, I thought First Steps was a really good movie. It's hands down the best Fantastic Four movie, which I know isn't saying much considering what we got. This one manages to crack the code on what these characters needed, with a few hiccups here and there. I do wish I could be singing its praises with a bit more enthusiasm, but again, it was just way too rushed and left a lot of elements undercooked. But beyond that, I think you'll have a good time if you go to see this. In my ranking of the MCU releases this year, I think Thunderbolts is still the best, but this is a very close second. Going to my ranking, I'd give Fantastic Four First Steps a 4 out of 5.